The Collective Whisper Podcast with Simon King. Okay, good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome Maeve Kelly to the show. Maeve is an entrepreneur, musician, humanitarian, and an all-round great person. So welcome to the show, Maeve.
Thanks very much. Nice to be chatting to you, Simon.
Nice to chat to you. We haven't spoken in a while. It's been a few, I was going to say a few months, but it's been a few years.
It absolutely has, hasn't it? But we go back a long way.
We're like passing ships in the night. We see each other every couple of years at some kind of event or a wedding or a funeral or something, a gig,
Yeah, there's been a few good weddings along the history there now.
How are you, Maeve? How is life treating you at the moment with all this COVID thing and everything? How are you keeping?
I'm doing okay, to be honest with you. Like I feel very lucky to be living in a village like Kinvara because we've got a great community here. And I'm right in the village, so I don't feel very isolated. If I have to go to the post office or to the shop, you're bumping into everyone and their uncle along the way, and there's a very strong, supportive community here. I'm doing okay. I'm keeping busy, keeping the head above water,
So, Maeve, tell us, when did you move to Kinvara? How long have you been there?
It's coming up to about 10 years now. I can't actually believe I'm saying that. Yeah, 10 years. Love the place.
Has Kinvara grown a lot? Is it still a small place?
It's not really grown because it's bound by the sea on one side and the Burren on the other, and strict planning regs on the other sides. So there's been a couple of small estates have been built, but really it hasn't changed at all in the last 10 years.
And is there a lot of blow-ins, as they say? Is there a lot of people that are not from Kinvara living around the community now?
Yeah, big time. But it always has been attractive to the blow-in factor, But I think what kind of makes Kinvara stand out really is that there's a great mixing of the locals and the blow-ins. A lot of the locals would have been people who were returned immigrants and things like that. So they have a good sort of global mentality.
Right.
The way you'd go to some towns and near the twain would mix, but here it's very different. Everybody knows everybody and they get on very well and they get very involved in community endeavours and things.
And tell me, in Kinvara, are there many pubs at the moment? I know Tully's is one of the big bars there, but are there many of them still open? Well, I know everything's closed at the moment, but before that, was there many bars in the town?
Sort of in that little in-between bit of when we lifted the lockdown 1 and before lockdown 2, they all opened bar 1, which was Greens, which is like our second sitting room, but it was... They just couldn't figure out social distancing, and they also just couldn't bring themselves to be able to say to their locals, sorry, we're full, you can't come in. So they decided to just stay shut. But all the other bars made a go of it. There's I think there's like in Kinvara and the hinterland, there's 9 bars.
When you were in London, you went and you were like 17 or 18. So what did you do when you went there? You went on the boat, obviously. Did you kind of look for a job or hang out with friends for a while?
Yeah, well, I got very into the squatting scene over there, and as loads of Irish people did at the time, I moved to Hackney, and at that time there was 50,000 squatters in Hackney. And it was a brilliant scene. It was a really, really good scene. It was like, I was busking. I was just, I'd been busking all along since I was 14 in Dublin anyway. And it was just brilliant but it was just like a kerching kind of thing, busking in London and the tube stations and things. I couldn't get over it. And I couldn't get, I was 17, so I couldn't get any benefits, and it was hard enough to get a job as well at 17, But, so yeah, the busking saw me through, and then I got a job in a bar once I turned 18, and then I managed to land myself a place on a course doing sound engineering. So that kind of sent me off on a spin. Then when I was in London, I did the year-long study in the sound engineering, and then got work in it.
You did your leaving cert or whatever, but what were you like at school? Were you academic or you hated it?
I was a demon. I was an absolute demon. I hated school. I couldn't wait to get out of the place. I broke my poor parents' hearts. You know, they had all these dreams and aspirations of me going to college and everything like that, and I just couldn't wait to leave the place. And yeah, I was awful. I was a courier in school. I really regret it now, you know, because it was actually, in retrospect, a nice school, you know, and they were looking out for us. But no, I think I was a lost cause.
Were you a big family, or how many was in your family?
I had 3 brothers, and then and they were all younger than me. And then my aunt lived down the few doors down the road, and my granny lived around the corner. So we were all, and another aunt lived the other end of Ranelagh. So it was very close, you know.
Were they Dubs through and through, or did they come from other places?
My mother was a 7th generation Dub. Actually, sorry, I was a 7th generation Dub.
You're the 7th.
Yeah. And she was absolutely disgusted with me when I got pregnant with my daughter in Galway. And she said, I presume you're coming up to have it in Holles Street. And I went, yeah, right, Ma. I will get onto Nestor's bus in labour and go and have the baby in Holles Street. She went, oh, no, come on now. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be the 8th generation. It's like, no, that's not happening.
That's
but no, Dub, true and true, yeah. But my dad was from Roscommon.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Ballahadreen up in the north of Roscommon.
I know it, yeah, Ballahadreen. Very good. So he obviously went up to Dublin working and stayed there.
Yeah. I met my mother in McDade's pub.
Oh, wow, that's really cool. And was it a thing, did you feel that, you know, for your dad, the fact that he moved to Dublin, it opened up more opportunities for him, or it didn't? How did you feel about that, like, as you look back on it?
Oh, he would have been suffocated in Roscommon. Like, I can't imagine what Roscommon was like in the 1950s. But like he did his stint in London. Now I know he left Roscommon and went to London and did a few years there, and then came back to Dublin and met my ma.
When you were in Dublin, were you in an all girls school or a mixed school, or what kind of school were you in?
Yeah, it was in an all girls school, but there was some classes that you had to go up to the boys' school for. So we all signed up for the classes.
Biology.
No, physics, chemistry, and art.
Okay.
And I hadn't a notion of being interested in physics or chemistry, but I signed up for it anyway, so I could go and see the boys.
Go and see the boys. Was your school like a Mercy or a presentation, one of those type?
No, it wasn't actually. It was it doesn't exist anymore, the school, but it was a Catholic school, but it didn't have any nuns in it. My mother deliberately tried to find a school that didn't have any nuns because she had left school at 13 because of the nuns. And she said she's never sent a child of hers to a school with nuns in it. I think she must have had a really bad time in school.
Well, you know, it's amazing, isn't it? Because I remember being in the Christian Brothers in Tuam, and there was still, you know, monks in there, and some of the priests and stuff. And the thing was, your mother took a great decision, because a lot of kids went to schools with that kind of nun system, and it was only later, towards the 90s, people started getting away from it, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and that's why, you know, when I was saying I was a courier in that school, and I was kind of probably a bit of a slap in the face for my mother, you know, because she, in fairness, you know, she had made this big effort to get me into a school that, you know, was a good school, but it wasn't run by nuns, and I kind of, you know, yeah, didn't really respect that, you know.
And did you, you know, you said obviously when you went to London you were busking. Did you ever do much busking in Dublin at that age, or did you kind of start more in London?
No, I started busking in Dublin when I was 14.
Okay. So how did you get into that, or just through friends, or?
I was the lonely teenager up in my bedroom with my tin whistle.
Right.
Get away from the brothers, just the mayhem of my family, and then I just go, yeah, and I was always broke, so I just said, fuck it, I'll try busking. Sorry, excuse the French, but yeah. So I went down. I was hanging out down in town anyway, down around Grafton Street and everything. So I just brought the tin whistle, and I was terrified, like, but brought it in and said I'll try. And no, I got very involved in the busking scene then, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and like that's one thing we have in common. I was a busker as well for a few years in Galway, and I remember the first time I went out, and I knew one song. I think it was like a Nirvana song or something, and it had like two chords, and I could go back and over between them. And you're kind of thinking, what'll I do next? And you stop for 5 minutes, and then you start it all over again and get a new crowd.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. I had five. I think I had 5 tunes for about the first year and a half. But, yeah,
Yeah, and it's
I love
crazy.
the poor people at the shops near me, you know.
I remember I was there and I was like in on Shop Street in Galway, and this guy came along and he had a guitar with him, and I had seen him busking, and he was like pretty good on the guitar, and he said to me, okay, let's me and you play together, we'll bus together, because he didn't like singing, so I was singing and he was kind of playing like lead acoustic guitar, and but he was way ahead of me, and I'll say his name, Brendan O'Gorman, because we used to play together for a good bit then. But it was crazy because I was thinking, no, I can't play with you. I mean, you're miles ahead of me. And he was like, don't worry, I'll shout out the chords to you. So as we'd be playing, he'd be like, fucking E, E, you cunt, E. So it was a good way of learning.
Yeah, on the hoof, literally.
Yeah. It's so I mean, that's the great thing about busking, people look at it and go, oh, was it not dangerous? And of course you meet scumbags, but you meet the best of people. And the thing is, you kind of learn how to do it. And you learn, I remember, it's great in the summer, but when you're doing it in the winter and your hands are falling off you with the cold and you're making only a few quid, but you're thinking, well, it's this or just the dole or whatever. So, I mean, it's a great occupation. And obviously Galway now is good for it. But, a lot of cities kind of don't like it anymore. But I think it's a great way for a musician to get on their feet, isn't it?
It's an absolutely brilliant way of cutting your teeth. Yeah. I think the golden rule that you have to learn as a busker, though, is never go busking when you're broke.
No,
because
exactly.
the public they pick up on it that you're hungry. You know what I mean? Like hungry as in that you need the spondulics. But like I that took me a long time to learn. Go busking for fun. You need to go out there and enjoy doing it.
And that's the thing, when you're out there and you're enjoying it, you'll make more money and you'll have more crack. But when you're kind of looking in the wallet or the purse and you're like, oh, I've only €5 left and, I have to pay rent and I have to do this and whatever. And then you're thinking, I'll go out and make some money. Those nights you very rarely make money because you're kind of doing it for the wrong reasons. And you can be lucky, of course. I mean, some nights I've had no money and gone out and made 40 or 50 quid in an hour or two. And you're thinking, geez, I thought I'd make nothing. It's a Monday night or something. But, as you said, it's a bad thing to do and stay away from it if you can.
Yeah. No, go do it for fun and do it for practice. Because it's absolutely brilliant practice for honing your skill.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And how was it? How did you find the difference in busking in London compared to busking in Dublin?
The first thing that was a big adjustment was a lack of community, because there was a really strong busking community in Dublin, particularly in the late 80s. There was, all the people that you'd be quite well known now, like, the Frames lads and the Mary Janes and all them, they were all knocking around and lots of others. But there was a great community and everybody looked out for you. So then suddenly you're finding yourself down in a tube station in Holborn or somewhere like that, and it was scary because you knew there was nobody looking out for you, and it was you didn't know you were just dealing with a different animal, But it didn't. In fairness, it didn't take me long to find a busking community there either, But
where were you living that time?
I was living in a part of London called Hackney.
Hackney, yeah, okay, yeah.
I started off in Stoke Newington. No, sorry. I started in Manor House and then went up to Stamford Hill and then over to Stoke Newington. But kind of always in the Hackney borough.
Were you with mainly Irish or English people, or who did you kind of fall in with?
At the start, definitely all Irish. It was definitely everyone I knew from Dublin.
Right.
You'd know a good few of them as well. They're still you know. As time went on, I got to know people from other nationalities as well. But I think the core community was Irish.
Yes. Did you, when you were in London at the time, and you were kind of on the street and you were playing probably trad tunes and a mixture of stuff, did you face any kind of discrimination or like racism towards Irish people on the street? I'm sure you have come across that.
I never came across it on the street, but I definitely came across it when I was working in a bar. I can remember two kind of very notable moments while being in London that really made me realise that I was not the same, if you know what I mean, as the English people.
Right,
and,
okay.
One was the Victoria bombing.
Okay, yes.
I can actually, it was just really horrible. Like, I was working in the bar. There was a lot of squaddies used to drink in this bar. And you'll have to excuse the French here now. But
don't worry. Say what you like.
This squaddy came up to me, he put his arm around me and he went, "You know what? I hate the fucking paddies, but you're all right, Maeve. You're all right." And I was just standing there going, how am I meant to react to that? Like, it was just like, it was a bit chilling. And then the King's Cross, no, it wasn't King's Cross, it was another bombing. Was it King's Cross? Was that bombing?
I can't remember. I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, there was another big bombing. And there used to be a cafe that I used to go into before going to work to go in and get a bacon butty, or I was vegetarian at that time, so it would have been an egg butty. And it was, I wish I could remember which bombing it was, but anyway, I was the only paddy who used to go in there. And I walked in this day, and people that I would always nodded at me and everything, they all actually physically looked at me and turned their backs on me.
Really? They turned away from you?
And I felt about 1 foot tall. Oh. It was such a significant moment of feeling, oh wow, okay, no matter how long I'd be in this country, I'll always be different, and they will always judge us.
Yes,
they'll tar us with one brush. Now we are talking late 80s England.
It was the middle of all that, really, because in the late 80s, I mean, anybody who was Irish who went on the boat for any kind of length of time, whether it was a week, a month, or 2 years, they'll all tell you, they've had stories. And if you were over there during those times of bombings, you were made feel like shit and made feel like, oh, you're a part of it. I know some guys who were stopped on the boat, the ferry, and they were, a couple of kind of rockers and stuff, and they said to them, "Are you guys terrorists? Are you in the IRA?" And they said, joking, "Yeah, of course we are. Why wouldn't we be?" And when the cops heard that, they were like, "Okay, we have to question you." And they questioned them for hours and hours. And they said, "Lads, we were only joking with you." And they were like, "No, we don't like your kind." And this is the problem. That whole terrorism thing made it really difficult for people in the 80s and early 90s for in and around London and the UK, for sure, didn't it?
Yeah, we were branded. Your accent branded you.
Yes.
That was basically, it's the same as now. I know it's more extreme, and the racism is much more apparent and strong, but it's the same as now somebody wearing a hijab is branded as a Muslim, and there's a distrust. It's that kind of thing, that it's just a profiling and a judgment.
Yeah, for sure, because it's like, even when you consider with racism, somebody one time, nowadays people will say, oh, it's they're Indian or they're African, whatever. But one time it was like, oh no, they're black. It was a black guy or a black fella, and the truth was, maybe he was an Indian, or and people just kind of didn't really know the level of the ethnicity, but they just said he's different to us, so he's a black guy or he's a Chinese fella or whatever. And it was like that, I suppose, with the profiling, where they'd go, it doesn't matter, they're all Irish, so they're the ones doing the damage at the moment. And you're thinking, I've nothing to do with terrorism,
Yeah. No, it was just, there was a lack of trust, and people were nervous, but the difference between the Irish and the other people who would be experiencing racism was nobody knew we were Irish until we opened our mouths.
Yes. Yeah. When you were working in the bar, how long did you work there for?
Let me think now. About a year and a half.
Yeah. Did you have enough then, or like did you think, okay, this is too much, and I want to get out of this?
No, I kind of like I was working there full time, and then I got onto that course doing the sound engineering. So I scaled back to part time, and I just couldn't fit into two, to be honest with you. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
Did you have ambitions at the time when you were like doing the course to kind of work in that area, or was just something you fell into?
Um, I had well, I always had an interest in music, and I don't know. I kind of fell into doing the course because I heard about it, and I went, maybe I'll do that, and it was free to do it, and I said, yeah, and it was
Okay, yeah, that's
a full time course that would keep me out of trouble for a year. I said, all right, I'll go and do that. Um, I can remember going in and seeing this massive 32 channel desk, going, what is that? And how am I ever going to get my head around
oh my
using
God.
that?
You're like, I'll just stay in the first two channels and call me if you need me.
And then they brought it. It was just at the cusp of digital, so we were also having to study C Lab and Cubase. And the first 6 weeks of the course didn't even look at a desk; it was physics.
Okay.
6 weeks of the physics of sound, and my head was melted.
Wow.
Because as I said earlier, the only reason why I did physics in school was because it was on in the fellows' school,
Yeah, the guys brought you there, and little did you know, like 5 or 6 years later, oh God, maybe that visit to the boys' school actually paid off a little.
Yeah, if I'd been doing that and except looking at the fellas and actually listening to the teacher.
The fellas, yeah.
But yeah, but no, it was no. I got really into the sound. I'm quite techie, so it was it washed well with me, and of course I love music, so it was a good marriage of interests.
And so did you did that course, and did you actually get work out of it then? Were you able to get like kind of an internship or anything anywhere?
I was very lucky that I immediately got employed by the studio that was running the course, and it was one of the top studios in London at the time, called Goldmine. And it was an unbelievable studio. It had the room where you'd be playing the music in was a floated room. It was basically a room within a room, and it was floated in mercury.
Oh wow!
So it was absolutely soundproof, and you had to step in and out through submarine doors to get into the room and all sorts of stuff. But it was absolutely state of the art, like millions and millions and millions of quid gone into it. So
wow, that was a great experience.
It was an amazing experience. It was I was very, very lucky. But yeah.
And did you? So how many years then did you stay in London before you went back? You went back to Galway then, didn't you?
I went back to Dublin first,
right?
And I tried a few months in Dublin, and that was in 92. And I after a couple of months in Dublin, I was like, oh, this place is still melting my head. I just couldn't deal with it.
Well, that's an interesting thing because, obviously you had reasons for leaving the first time. It was getting to you and you couldn't stick it and you wanted a sense of adventure. But when you came back then a few years later and you were a bit older, did you feel for a while, oh, maybe I'll stay here for a few years or I'll kind of fall back into the scene, but it didn't work for you?
Well, what happened was, I don't know, how will I put this now? I kind of came back with rose-coloured glasses thinking it'll have changed,
Yeah.
A few people had moved back, and I was like, yeah, no, I'll give it a go. And then I tried to get work doing what I had been working at in sound engineering, and I was laughed out of every recording studio in Dublin.
Really?
Like, it was like, what? Yeah, oh, what? You're a girl, you can make the tea, like, basically. And I had to go basically to found one studio that would take me on as an intern. And so I had to work for free to be able to try and make any kind of mark of myself. And then Temple Bar opened up their 6-week sound engineering courses, and we're turfing out sound engineers every 6 weeks. And sure, it's like, but you couldn't learn sound engineering in 6 weeks.
No.
They were turfing out lots of people onto the scene. And I just right, that's not going to happen. So I started having to work in bars again, and I don't know. It melted my head. Like nothing much had changed in Ireland, really. It was still pretty repressive it was still, yeah, couldn't handle it.
The thing is there that if you're in a city where, even a smaller city where there's a lot of sexism and, the mansplaining and all this kind of stuff, if you're in a bigger city, there's way more of it. And this is the problem, isn't it? Because you say, oh, there's more opportunities, but you still have to overcome more hurdles and the same type of hurdles every day. And as you said, you walk in and you say, I have this kind of experience, and, they're not looking at you. They're not looking at the words that are coming out of your mouth. They're kind of looking at, oh, it's a woman and she's talking about recording and stuff. Can you make some tea?
And a 21-year-old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're looking, going, go on, you can make tea if you want or whatever. But yeah, no, I was still kind of prepared to be making a go of it. I did want to make a go of it in Dublin, but I did get work in Whelan's, which was brilliant, and I got work in another place down in Temple Bar. Like, now it was a mix of bar work and stage work, but there was opportunity. I could have made something of it if I'd wanted to, but I ended up moving on to the next chapter of my life. Was hitching down to Galway one weekend and never looked back.
Was that something that you just went on a whim, or you kind of had contacts down there? How did you kind of decide to go to Galway?
I didn't know a sinner there. There was somebody I was sharing a gaff with who had never been to Galway, and neither had I. I honestly had never been to Galway, so we just took a notion one weekend and said, let's hitch, and we hitched down to Galway.
Wow.
And actually bumped into some people and met some of the people that are still to this day my best friends. Met them that very first night in Galway.
Wow. When was that? Was that the early 90s or the late 80s?
No, that was the early 90s.
Early 90s, yeah, okay. And did you find the scene like completely different on a smaller level, or was it completely different from Dublin for you?
It was very much a lot of the scene that I had been involved in London, which was like the squatting scene and the left field kind of alternative scene. A lot of them, when they moved to Ireland, moved to the West and moved to Galway. And it was a bit of a finding my tribe moment when I got to Galway. I went, Janie Mac, like, look, this is where they've all landed.
Yeah, I remember that in Galway, obviously. And, I mean, a lot of people, I suppose, with the Big Bag of Sticks gigs and stuff, you'd meet all the different people there. But it's mad because in much the same way that you have now, like, not I don't want to say refugees, but you have people from other countries coming in. I remember at that time in Galway, what they used to say, oh, the New Age travellers or the Crusties, which is the terrible name, but it was still floated around. But the truth was there was a big community of people that were very different to the people in Galway, and it was like a whole new thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time, wasn't it? Yeah, really big time. But it was very vibrant.
Yeah,
there was a really, really vibrant music scene, and you mentioned the Big Bag of Sticks and bands like that. They brought a lot of people together, and it was an absolutely brilliant scene.
Yeah, and I mean Bransky's and the West Side Tavern and these kind of places, and when, I suppose now, it's funny when all these people get together and they've kids and their lives are very different nowadays, and some have settled and some are more professional. But the one thing, they have great memories of all those times, don't they? In and around Salt Hill and the west side of Galway and Buskin and Shop Street, and it was a great little community, wasn't it?
It was brilliant crack. It was absolutely brilliant, and solid.
And solid, yeah. Did you find, because obviously when you had been in London and you had been squatting, I'm sure you faced a lot of problems from, landlords and, the police and everything. Did you find that was very different to how it was in Dublin? Like if you were with the same kind of people in around Ireland, was it a different kind of feeling, or, did you feel in Ireland it'd give you more chances?
No, definitely not. Like London, let's forget about the Irish thing. Do you know what I mean? Because that was they were moments, but they weren't. That's not how life was in general. And London was very tolerant. You could get anything goes in London, Whereas like Galway in the early 90s, yes, there was that great scene, but the locals didn't want anything to do with it.
There was a lot of prejudice towards it.
There was a huge amount of prejudice, and oh, sure, look, there was on average maybe 2 pubs in town that would allow you in if you had a head of dreadlocks. And like it was like, yeah. So like we made our own fun, but no, there was a lot of prejudice, and there was a lot of you couldn't. This sounds terrible because I've got so many great Galway friends now, but we're talking about a different era. But they didn't want to know you.
Yeah, I remember, and I remember, like, I wasn't obviously in the scene, but I remember obviously with my sister Caroline, and you were great friends, and Colin and everything, but I remember going to gigs and kind of being around all you guys and kind of seeing how people treated you, and I remember even when I started busking, and Colin and Caroline would be busking, and you'd see how people would treat them and treat other people around them that were just there to listen to music and stuff. And as you said, if it was like the head of dreadlocks, it was like they looked at you totally different, and it was a shame, really. But it's one of these things, I suppose, that happens throughout every kind of decade, where there's ignorance on the part of a lot of people. They're like, who are these people? What do they want? And they don't look at them as people. They look at them as kind of intruders.
Yeah, it's stranger fear.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It is, definitely. And come on, like you again, go back to 90s Ireland, early 90s Ireland. This sounds, I'm probably going to phrase this wrong, but it was still quite a closeted place,
Mm.
People lived for the old late show on a Friday night, and they had their, everybody had a bit of a system, and just like normal mainstream life was, pretty straightforward. And then you get this bunch of kind of weirdos arriving into your town with dreadlocks and different accents, and out in the street busking and circus atmosphere kind of thing. It would have thrown you if you didn't have any understanding of it.
Yeah, because I think for a lot of people, they'd be thinking, I'm out here on the farm working, I'm going to my factory job, and these hippies or whatever you want to call them are just playing music on the street and bushing and drinking and having great crack, and they're probably doing loads of drugs and everything, and they don't kind of see it as, maybe they're not working, but at that point in their life, they're having that kind of nomadic adventure. And, some of those people could be really professional and go on to do great things. But you can't judge someone just because they are doing something with their life that's not the same as yours,
No, but I also have an understanding of where that stranger fear comes in. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Stuff I've done later in life, I now have a greater understanding of why people have fears. And, I do a lot of work these days to help people overcome those stranger fears. So I have a better understanding now,
Yeah. And, I always remember being in a house one time, or maybe about 20 years ago. And I always remember this, someone said to me once, in the 80s and 90s in Ireland, was it very racist there? And I said, it wasn't so much that it was racist, it was pure ignorance. And as you said, that stranger fear, where people didn't understand other cultures. And I was in this house, and the father of one of the girls in the house, he came home and he said, I'm after seeing a black fella in town, and he was there doing his shopping like everybody else. And I said, really? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, yeah. And he said, I've never seen a black man before. And I thought to myself, but what were you thinking? He said, no, I was kind of shocked that he was there in my town or whatever. And, it kind of struck me. He wasn't being racist in any form. He just literally, it was a culture shock for him. And it's this ignorance. Like, if now it's great. Children grow up together with all types of ethnicities and colors and everything. And they don't even look at it differently. But, if you grow up in an all-white community and all of a sudden somebody of color or different race comes in, when you're 17 or 18, you're like, oh, who's this? I've never seen this kind of person before. And that time, we were just a small island, and it was very closed, and people didn't really come here. Everybody was going abroad,
That's it. Like, it was a country that people left. It wasn't a country that people came to. And I think that's why kind of, just to sort of justify what I was saying there a few minutes ago, it's like, we were closeted. We were very closeted because nobody came to us. Like, we just had our own little bubble, you know. Like, you just reminded me of a story when I was in London. My aunt came over to visit me with my little cousin, and he was probably about 7 or 8 at the time, you know, if that. And anyway, we got on a bus, and we were sitting on the top of the double-decker bus, and at the very front, and there was this kind of glass window that you could look down and see the driver, you know. And we were going on a bus down into this market area that was a very black area. So next thing, he pipes up, and he looks down through the window, and he went, Ma, you won't believe it, even the driver's black. And I was like, well, I just wanted to die on the spot, like, but it was the innocence, you know, like he hadn't seen any black people before in his life, you know.
And that's true, isn't it? Because I mean, that's where, for me, a lot of the time, you know, children say it the best because it's coming from a great place. They're just innocent. When an adult makes a mistake because they have a culture shock, you know, straight away it's like racism. And a lot of the time it's not, because racism for me kind of is something where there's a kind of a hatred and an ignorance of the other person, or you don't want to get to know, you know, because everybody can have a culture shock. And like, I'm sure when you went to London the first time, you met kind of races that maybe you'd never met before, but it opened your eyes to that. And you were realizing, okay, well, they're not that much different. They do things differently, and, you know, they might have different cultures and religions. But, you know, when we sit down to have a coffee, we're all very much the same, no?
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's like, you know, like to go back to when we were talking about Kinvara earlier, you know, where I think there's a huge amount of the locals are returned immigrants. They have a global view. They have met other cultures. They've met people from all around the place. And I think that's what makes them most of them very tolerant now, you know. But I don't, you know, just to, you know, put a caveat on what we're talking about now. Like, I really don't believe that there's any excuse for any kind of ignorance in terms about race now. Where, like, all our mainstream media, all our soaps, all our films, all our social media, everything gives everyone an opportunity to learn about other nationalities. So, you know, there's never an excuse for racism of any sort. I just sort of kind of wanted to put that in as a caveat. Like, you know.
You're right, because like I was saying earlier, the thing about it was, you know, back 10, 20 years ago, we didn't have that information highway. We didn't kind of have that thing where you could find out things. You could Google stuff. You just relied on what was on the media and the news. And now there's so much more information. So the thing is that if somebody isn't informed now about racism and other cultures, they have to get informed. And you can't make as many mistakes as you used to in the past, can you?
No, definitely not. And you know, like, yeah, no, you know, I mean, that's the thing. You can't. And like, you know, we grew up with Glen Rowe, for crying out loud, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's a different story now, you know. But yeah.
Yeah. Glen Rowe was always like, oh shit, I have to do my homework.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, you know, like, no.
So come here, let's talk about your daughter, Shona. Tell us about Shona.
She's brilliant. She's such a cool kid. Shona's living over in England now, and has done. She went over when she was about 16 and a half, following in her mammy's footsteps. But her dad lives over there, so she sort of all her life would go back and forth, you know, on holidays over to him anyway.
Okay.
And so she lives there now. I have a brother living over there as well, so she's got good family contacts and everything. But she came back here for lockdown 1, which was brilliant. Mammy was very happy to have her here. And we're very close. We're very close. We're in some respects more like sisters.
Does she prefer the British way of life now to the Irish, or how does it feel for her?
I couldn't answer that, Simon.
Yeah.
When she's here, she's very Irish, and when she's over there, she just does her thing. You know, I think that there's an awful lot more opportunities over there for her. You know, like she's got her groove over there. I get it. You know.
Yeah. One thing, Maeve, you had mentioned to me, you know, that you lived mobile with Shona for a good while when she was younger, didn't you? How was that experience?
Yeah, well, it was very easy. I mean, like I'd say to anybody who's planning a small child or has a small child, move around as much as you can until they have to go to school, because then you're pinned down after that. But no, I was in a band. Myself and her dad were in a band together.
Right.
So we were doing a lot of touring. We were touring Europe a lot, and ended up in Germany, where we kind of settled for a while, but still constantly touring. At the time in Germany, there was a new Irish bar opening every single week. It was a national obsession over there. And we were an Irish band, and we were just no end of work, just touring from one end of the week to the other. So we had a bus, and we lived on the bus.
And what kind of bus was it? Like, was it like a school bus, or what kind of bus?
It was a big 32-foot bus. It's the length of a bus airing bus.
Really?
But we started off in something smaller. Like, we were in something smaller. And but then as she got a bit bigger, we went for this big huge bus.
Did you have to, did you get the bus and use it as it was, or did you have to kit it out and kind of make it adaptable?
We bought it kind of semi-converted. Somebody had started the job but hadn't finished it. So luckily Shauna's dad is a brilliant carpenter. So he got stuck into it and did a proper conversion on it. And yeah, then we took off with it. But what was really funny was it was registered as a camper van, even though it was a length of a bus airing bus.
A camper van.
It was hilarious because, we booked it onto the ferry to go over to France as a camper van. I nearly had a heart attack when we arrived at the ferry with the thing.
The operator was like, "That's not a fucking camper van. Where are you going?"
Look at the books. It says it's a camper van on the book.
Wow. And did you? Obviously you were in that in hot and cold weather. Was it hard in the winters, I wonder, with it?
In the bus, no, it was really cozy. But we had a lovely wood stove on it and everything like that. The previous vehicle we had before that we were in the Alpine regions in the winter, and that was really, really cold. It was tough.
Wow.
Yeah, tough on.
What was Germany like? You were living in Germany. What was it like? There was a great atmosphere and a great culture over there at the time of the Irish music and the German bars and stuff. I'm sure it was a really nice time, was it?
It was a really lovely time, and I couldn't think of a nicer place to have a toddler in. The Germans are all about growing the toddler and letting them grow without pushing education on them. Children don't start learning to read or write until they're 7 in Germany. It's all about play, and it's all about visual stimulation and everything like that. And she went to kindergarten there and everything like that, and she was so happy. It was a really, really great place to be. Yeah, totally.
The funny thing is, I remember once I went touring for 3 months around the Netherlands and Germany and stuff, playing music, and and I remember I landed in Dusseldorf, and it was mad because I started busking on the street, and this guy came up to me and he said, "What you're singing sounds amazing." He said, these German people are going to work now. They don't really care about music. So he said, in the evening, maybe it'll be different.
Yeah.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because in Germany like that, they can be very focused on what they're doing. But then when they want to party and stuff, so you have to pick your moments sometimes, don't you?
Yeah, it takes a while to adjust to the culture. Definitely. There's none of the wildness of the Irish in it. But I think we were simultaneously trying to be in a band, but also be parents of a small toddler. And just everything in society there is geared towards making it easy for you as parents of a small toddler, So to the point that the bars that would be booking us for gigs, they were aware that we had a child, and they would give us an apartment, and they would make sure that everything was in place there, because we'd always bring a babysitter with us, and they'd make sure everything was in place there to make everything really, really easy for us to be able to do our gig and also have our child on tour with us. It was really lovely. Would have met up with your sister a few times there now, because they came over gigging, and they'd be great reunions when they'd come over, and we'd always do a couple of gigs with their band, and it'd be good crack. We'd have a bit of the wild Irish stuff going on then, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great. So, I mean, you felt very welcome there in that time, and it was, as you said, they made it very convenient and very easy to have a child with you. Whereas in some places it'd be kind of like, what are you doing? But they made it very easy.
They did, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was like, yeah, no, they were really, yeah, this is fine, you know. Yes, you need a space for your child and your babysitter. This is no problem. We arrange it for you, and it's no questions about it. It's just sorted for you.
That's nice. That's nice. And do you still go back to Germany sometimes to visit those places, or?
No, I don't. You see, like we had a base there, right, which was a place called Tübingen, the south of Stuttgart. But like we might go back to Tübingen once every 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? Like we were on the road all the time.
You had a circuit.
Yeah, there was a circuit, and it was, and Germany's a huge country. No, you were just on the road all the time. But you know, you'd come back for a break, and then you'd spend a few weeks in Tübingen, you know, and then you'd be off again. But I've lost track of what I was going to say. Have I gone back? I've gone back to Germany a good few times, but there's no one particular place where I would say I need to revisit, you know. Like Berlin is somewhere I go back to a lot.
Yeah, Berlin. Yeah, I can imagine it was a great city. And
I love it.
After you left Germany, did you go back to Galway or Dublin, or where did you go back to then?
Well, back to Galway, yeah.
You started doing a degree, did you, and stuff?
At the ripe age of 30, yeah. I took a note.
Why not?
Yeah, well, you know, I like interspersing all these times. I had spent time living in Spain, you know, and
yeah,
I had good Spanish, and I thought, you know what, it might be good to go and do a degree in Spanish just to have that in the back pocket.
Yeah, you were. Where were you living in Spain? In Galicia, was it, or?
Well, a couple of different places. I was in the Basque Country for a while.
Okay.
And I joined a circus. That's another story. I joined a circus in Basque Country.
Really?
And
a Spanish circus.
Yeah, that was just mayhem. And so traveled to Basque Country doing circusy kind of stuff. And then then about a year later, headed down to Granada, lived in Granada for a while, and then came back to Galway again. I've done a lot of yo-yoing, Simon, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, you kind of go where the wind takes you, and when the moment arises, don't you?
I do. Yeah. No, like honestly, that's me. I just go, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll go and do that.
Here's the thing. It's like me. I look sometimes at my list of addresses and places I've lived, and you know, sometimes you go, Jesus, I'm a real gypsy, and you know. But the thing about it is, you know, as I get older now, I look back and I think, you know, it's great because you're only proving to yourself when you look at all those addresses, all the adventures and experiences you've had, and all the different places you've lived. You know, because we kind of get stuck in this thing of you have to be in one place and settle all the time. I think you have to be happy and you have to move where you need to move and you have to try things out, no?
Yeah, you only live once, right? You know?
You only live once.
Yeah, go and experience it all. Yeah, no, that's where my head's at about it, you know. But yeah, but back to the college thing.
Yeah.
Over my various trips and times spent in Spain, I picked up good gutter Spanish.
Yeah.
And of course, I thought I was fluent. I thought I was brilliant at it. You know what I mean? But anyway, I decided I'd go to college and you know, prove to the world I was brilliant at it. But as it turned out, I was absolutely useless. I couldn't write it. I couldn't read it. I knew that stringing a certain amount of sounds together would get me X, Y, or Z.
You had the pidgin Spanish, so it worked there.
Yeah, but I didn't realise I was thrown in the Spanish equivalents of give us the fucking bleeding whatever, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But I had the when I came over here first, you know, we're here 7 years, and so before I came over, I did like a part-time diploma in NUIG in Spanish, and you know, I thought, you know, it should be okay, but like I realized, you know, it was ridiculous because the amount of stuff you learn in Irish colleges or universities in relation to a language is nothing. You know, you come over here and it doesn't work for you at all because you have to learn it, you have to speak it, every day. And I always tell this, when I started doing my Spanish course in NUIG, it was, it was great and it was lovely people and everything there. But I remember we had 3 hours every Thursday, and the first hour was grammar and stuff, and the second hour we would speak, and the third hour was about Mayan culture. And I remember one fella said to me, I didn't fucking come here to learn about Mayan culture. I'm fucking paying money for this, and they're teaching me about things that I don't need to know about. And it was kind of like, it was like an appreciation of the culture and the language, but we kind of felt like we'd rather speak for that other hour than learn about the history of, the Mayan culture and stuff. So in truth, it's sometimes these college courses drag out a bit and you don't really learn as much as you'd like.
Try doing a 4-year degree in it, Simon. That's when it really.
So tell us. So you did the degree, and you were teaching English as well. Well, yeah, was that in Galway, or did you go abroad teaching English?
No, I actually stayed teaching it in Galway. I did the TEFL course with the intentions of going abroad with it, but again, I kind of seem to be quite lucky in that the places that I do courses in tend to offer me jobs, which is brilliant. So that's what happened. I did a TEFL course in the Bridge Mills in Galway, and they said, "Do you want a job?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll go on then, all right." And
was that in the Galway Language Centre?
Yeah.
Oh, that's where I did my TEFL place. Yeah. And it was mad. I have to tell this story because it just shows you how, when I went in to do my TEFL course, my brother Charlie had done his, and he was working in the Atlantic College in Salt Hill. So I went in, and when I left school, I left at Intercert and I did a carpentry apprenticeship. And, at the time I didn't want to stay in school and I wanted to kind of work with wood and all that kind of stuff. But then later, I got into teaching music, and then, I kind of, as I got a bit older, I was getting more academic. There was intelligence in there, but it was hidden, and so I went into the Bridge Mills and I said to them, I'd like to do a TEFL course. And they said to me, okay, you just need this and you're leaving certain this kind of stuff, or college diploma or whatever. And I was like, oh, well, I don't have a leaving cert. And he said, oh, you can't do it without that. And he said, why don't you have a leaving cert? And I said, well, I got a trade. I was a carpenter. And he said to me, oh, he said, we don't have many carpenters coming in doing it. And I said, why, is it not allowed or something? And he was laughing and he said, no, it's just strange. And I said, well, there's something new every day. And so I said to him, so can I do it or what? And he said, I don't know. He said, I've never had this situation. So I kind of convinced him anyway to let me do it. And he said, look, we'll see how it goes. And, if you prove to me, he said, because a lot of these people in here doing it are kind of, academics and doing college courses and all this stuff. And some of them are teachers and stuff. And so I came in and just worked my arse off for that intensive month, and it's a tough month. But at the end of it, when I passed, he said to me, look, Simon, I have to apologize to you. He said, because when you come in, I kind of made you feel like you couldn't do it. And I kind of thought in my head you wouldn't be able to do it. So he said, the next time somebody comes in like that, I'm never going to make that mistake again. He said, so I'm saying sorry and I'm saying thank you for opening my mind a little. But, it's one of those things you learn, isn't it? And don't judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's a great story, Simon. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and you have to push. Sometimes you have to push. So you did the course in there, and then you started working there.
Yeah. So I got a full-time job there straight away, which was brilliant. Yeah, I was really lucky.
Wow. Were you teaching there, or were you teaching the students, or were you doing the training of the other teachers?
I was teaching students.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I loved it.
Cool.
It's great work. Yeah. No, you can only sure yourself, like, it can kind of burn you out teaching TEFL after a while, You need to take long breaks from it as well.
Yeah, I'm still a TEFL teacher here in Spain, and I mean, it's great in some gigs you get, some places you work, and you can really, you enjoy going to it. But then there's other places you teach, and it's very run of the mill, and and it's just like that. Some years, I'm here 7 years now. When I look back at some of the places I've worked, I say, oh, that was a great experience, or that was a shit experience. But, it's just par for the course. And, but sometimes, yeah, it's funny because a lot of people do TEFL and they do it for a year or two, and it's something to bring them on to the next thing. But when you find teachers here in Spain and in the Philippines and in Asia who are teaching for 20 years, and sometimes, they love it, but sometimes they burn out a little with it too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, yeah. No, I don't know. I enjoyed it, but it's a bit Groundhog Day as well. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But I mean, like, the stuff I learned, the methods you learn of teaching in TEFL, you can apply to teaching anything. And I do love to teach. But you would have, what was it? The presentation, practice, and production.
And
Yeah, yeah,
production,
yeah.
yes, yeah, yeah.
And you can apply that to teaching anything to anyone. Is you're basically teaching people how to do something by themselves.
And the truth is, some people are just natural teachers, and so you could put them teaching anything, and they just have to learn what they're teaching. But when it comes to that presentation and showing the students, they have a natural aptitude for it. So there's some teachers out there who are teachers, and they're terrible teachers, and they know all the academic stuff, but they don't have a method, or they don't have that bedside manner like the doctors have. You have to kind of have a vocation, whether it's music, English, whatever you're teaching. You have to have a little bit of vocation and a love of people, no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And it always helps to like to chat. And I always think, I used to find it was a bit like teaching English. It's a bit like a performance, isn't it? It's like
It is.
and you have an hour to get an idea across to some people, particularly if you're an absolute beginners who are just looking at you blankly and they haven't got a clue what you're telling them. So it's all about doing actions and trying to demonstrate what you're trying to say to them. And I found that I loved it, but at the same time, it would be. I suppose I was going back home at the end of the day to a young kid as well. So it was knackering, But I did totally enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, it's funny now as we're doing the podcast now, but I remember even a couple of years ago, I'd be doing classes and people would say to me, you should do like a YouTube channel or like a podcast or something, because you've got great chat and, the questions to ask. And I said, sure, who knows? You never know what could come up. But it's funny because, as you said, English is like that. Sometimes it's like just a good chat that you can keep going without any alcohol.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so listen, Maeve, tell us. Let's talk a little about your, the Whiskey Stone Company. This is your new kind of, company, and tell us how it started and what happened. Where did you get the idea?
I'm very excited about it because it's actually really working. It's brilliant. And it sounds like a made up story how it all started, but it actually happened. Like I was in a bar in Vegas. And I was sitting. I'd never been to Vegas before. My daughter convinced me to go. With two of us to go there. And I'm sitting in this bar, and there's this guy beside me, and he's got these rocks in his glass. I mean, literally rocks. And in America now, people don't just sit at the bar and chat to each other the way we would here. But I was just the curiosity was killing me. So I was like, I just turned around. I said, "Sorry, mister, but do you mind me asking you what is that in your glass?" And he went, "Ma'am, they're whiskey rocks." And I said, "Right, what are they then?" And he said, "Well, they make you drink cold, but they don't dilute it." And I went, "All right." And I didn't think anything more of it. I mean, that's a brilliant idea, but I'm didn't think anything more of it. Now, for years, I had been making these.
How many years ago was that?
That was 2000, late 2018.
Okay.
But for years before that, I'd been making these drinks coasters out of slate. And I used to just do, little decorations on them and sell them on Christmas markets and things. And maybe about 4 years ago, for a joke, I had done some Father Jack ones, just saying "drink feck girls arse" on them. And I put them up on Facebook, and I swear to God, I nearly broke the internet with them. And I literally done them as a joke, and so many people got hold of me going, "Can I get a set of them? Can I get a set of them?" And I was like, "Janie, I only did them for a joke, but yeah, right, no problem." So they were flying out. Anyway, moved back forward to the Vegas thing. So Mr. Whiskey Rocks, conversation had, everything that was grand, and self-Patrona went back to the hotel. And that night I sat up, bolt upright, and I went, "Oh my God, Father Jack's Whiskey Stones. How would I do that? That'd be brilliant." So I had my poor daughter's head melted then with me trying to figure out how I was going to do it. And we were just at the start of a big journey we did. We took off and did a 6-month travel around the world together. And I think for most of that 6 months, I had her head melted with me trying to figure out how I was going to do these. But I had it all sussed by the time I got back. And so, yeah, started production. And I was really still thinking small, just go away market, that kind of thing, But then lockdown was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because we weren't allowed to trade in Galway market. And I had a big pile of these whiskey stones. Going, what am I going to do with them? And so I went online. I learned how to build a website and learned how to market it. And I'm very proud to say that I'm now having a really big turnover, and the Irish Times and Radio 2 and all sorts of people are raving about me, and it's got legs. It's been really brilliant. I'm working 7 days a week on it. Like I'm absolutely just to the wall busy. And it's amazing. And I've now just taken the next big step, because I was getting someone else to do all my engravings on the stones and on the boxes, but I now just bought the equipment myself, which was a terrifying second mortgage moment kind of thing. But I bought the equipment so I can do everything now myself.
So explain to us, I've seen the boxes and like they have the engraving. So were you doing that by hand, or someone was doing it? How were you doing that?
I'll just backtrack a bit, because obviously we've got listeners and not people who can see what we're talking about. So just to sort of be clear, whiskey stones are little cubes of marble, basically. And what you do is I have them, and I've presented them in a little wooden box that looks a little bit like the old school pencil case with the slide, the wooden pencils. You slide the lid off. And it's about half size of one of them. So you put the box into the freezer for a couple of hours, and then the marble stones go ice cold, and then you put them into your drink, and it makes a drink cold without diluting it. So that's the concept. So what I was doing...
What kind of marble is it?
It's just a grey marble. Like marble's the safest stone to use, most food safe stone. It doesn't soak up flavors. Some stones would take in flavors, or you'd use it in whiskey, and then you'd try to use it and wash them, but they'd still have the scent of the whiskey in it. Whereas marble, like chocolatiers and cheesemongers and butchers all use marble for a reason. It's because it's pretty non-porous, and it's very food safe. So anyway, so I basically I do the designs. I know I'll elaborate on that. I come up with ideas for designs, and then I have a great artist friend. She's an amazing artist, Lily Johnson, who lives in the village, and I go to Lily with a really crap sketch and go, "This is kind of what I'd like. Can you do a better job of that for me?" And then she does an absolutely awesome job for me of it. And then I have an engraver.
Does she do she does the actual stones or the boxes?
The boxes, the drawing for the boxes, yeah.
Okay.
And then I have a fantastic company up in Dublin, a lovely crowd called Custom Wood Designs, who have a big industrial laser, and they laser engrave the lids for me. And then the lids come back to me, and then I hand finish them I paint them. So it's a bit of a collaborative exercise, but it's grand for the industrial level stuff. I've got really popular ones like the Father Jack ones, or I've got gin stones and it's that. So Gary's absolutely brilliant for doing that, but I'm also getting an awful lot of requests for personalised stuff.
Personalised stuff is too small of an order. It's too difficult to do, no?
No, well, it's too small of an order for the amazing guy up in Dublin who does my bigger orders, because it's sending something across the country over to Dublin to wait for it to be sent back, and he's firing up a big, huge piece of equipment to do one off. It wouldn't be fair on him, and it wouldn't be fair on me. So I've bought the equipment now, which I only got in a couple of days ago, where I'll be able to do bespoke stuff now, one off.
Go back to the marketing there, because you were saying you had to learn how to kind of do the marketing and build the website. So is it a case for you now that you're like concentrating on particular countries, or you're kind of working on a little piece of every country?
I think this is probably the story of many a self-employed person in Ireland, is that I'd say 4 hours of my day at least is spent on marketing, and the rest of it is actually doing what I want to do. No, seriously, particularly in these COVID times, the only way you've got a shop window is to use the internet as a shop window. 4 hours a day at least is spent on marketing. And at the moment, I have been really targeting the Irish market because there's such a big push on shop local, buy Irish, all that, and it's a fantastic wave, and I'm very proud to be part of that wave. And when I say I spend 4 hours a day, it's not marketing. It's not just marketing my own stuff. There's a great camaraderie amongst a lot of Irish businesses right now, and we're all helping each other out, and we all push each other, and we all share each other's posts and collaborate with each other, and it's a very special time for Irish businesses who have managed to embrace the internet end of things. I do feel really, really gutted for retailers and food traders and bars and things like that, who no matter what they do, they can't tap into that, because it's not something sellable on the internet. I'm lucky. I'm very lucky that I have a product that I can sell and post.
You have a stall, don't you, in the Kinvara Farmers Market and stuff.
Galway Market as well, yeah.
Yeah, and the Galway Market. So a lot of those people, because, obviously maybe they can't meet, so they're going to have to learn new skills to start selling stuff on the internet, crafts and stuff. And before they might have been happy with what they were doing, but now they're like, oh, it's too many restrictions. I have to do it from home.
Yeah. The skill set you need is enormous, and it's a learning curve every day for me, trying to learn. First of all, I had to learn how to build a website anyway. Do you know what I mean? That was a curve, and it's an entirely new skill set doing sales via social media and the internet. It's just so different from meeting people who come up to your market stall and chatting to them. And much as I'm a salesperson, I'm a business person, so obviously I love a sale, but I really, really miss the banter standing on your market stall in Galway on a Sunday, and just people coming up and
the bit of haggling,
or just the chat. Where are you from, and what brought you to Galway, and how long are you here for? And just the banter, I miss that. You don't get that with you're not getting that with the internet. You just get a little ping. Oh, somebody's bought something. Now, that's where I'm very active on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, because I like to have the banter. So I banter with people. But it's time consuming. It is time consuming. But, you got to love it. Yeah.
That's great. And I think it's a great initiative, and like sometimes these great ideas can come from somewhere or nowhere, but it's great, like that something inspired you and you followed through with it. And now it's like doing really well for you and people love it. And, and it's something unique, isn't it? As you said, you might have seen it in another country or another continent, but then you go, oh, it's not actually here. So there's a market there for me. So I'm going to jump into that pool.
Yeah, and the other thing is that the emerging whiskey and gin distillery market in Ireland it's enormous, and it's something that the Irish are doing very, very well and getting world renowned for. But what there is a gap is that there isn't that much in the lines of Irish whiskey accessories, which is kind of where the route I'm taking, But as I was saying to you about the camaraderie within Irish businesses, the Irish whiskey world is very, very small still, and I've had nothing but goodwill and support. Like, I was speaking today to the guy who set up the Burren distillery, and that's going to be that's going to be a beautiful whiskey. He's got a really amazing vision with this distillery. Now, he's had his whiskey, it's been distilled for a year. It's sitting in the barrels now, but he can't call it whiskey until it's been in the barrels 3 years. It's a very exciting time in the Irish whiskey industry, in the bespoke, small Irish whiskey industry, and loads of them haven't come on stream yet, and won't for another couple of years, because they're waiting for it to be mature enough.
Yeah, yeah. Let's change topic a little bit, Maeve. So, for example, with your music, you were playing in Fling and Falch and a few different bands. So, tell us a little about Fling, because you did some extensive touring around Asia and everything, and you toured in Asia with Falch as well, didn't you?
Just was one of the best experiences of my life. I'd say that hands down. It was an amazing coming together of really amazing musicians, and we gelled, and we wrote an album and we toured that album, and we were very, very lucky with it. Like we just got noticed by people that were quite happy to take us traveling and take us abroad. And like in particular, there's one guy I'd have to give very special mention to, Owen Murphy, who was based over in Shanghai, and I stuck my neck out to Owen Murphy because I'd heard that he was looking for an Irish band to play the Shanghai Irish St. Patrick's Festival, and he didn't know me from Adam. And I was just very cheeky and got in touch, and I said, well, if you're looking for an Irish band, we'll come over to you. And he said, oh yeah, I'll think about that and everything. And then he said, if you can get Culture Ireland funding, I'll have you. So I was like, yeah. So I applied for the funding and then didn't hear anything back. And next thing, lastminute.com got notice that we had got the funding, got back onto Owen, and like literally had about 10 days notice. He went, no problem, get on a plane, come over. So that kind of started a great working relationship with the Owen and the Irish Department of Foreign Affairs over in Shanghai. And when you go to places like Shanghai to play for something like the St. Patrick's Festival, which goes on for a good week, everybody that's involved in Irish stuff over there will want a piece of it. So we were doing work for On Board Bia, we were doing work for the Asian GAA, we were doing it for Dublin Institute of Technology, had a kind of an outlier out there. And so we were gigging all day, every day, at all sorts of events and things like that. And it went really well. So we were invited back again and again and again over there, which was just fantastic. And that became...
That's really good.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. And we were really, really, really well looked after as well. Like just so looked after, and such amazing experiences. And then we also were very involved with a guy in Denmark called Klaus Hebor, who Klaus is another incredible sort of pusher of Irish culture, let's say, in Denmark. He ran all these cultural nights.
An Irish pusher.
Yeah, and he would bring us over maybe 3 or 4 times a year over to Denmark and tour us all over the place doing stuff, and that was brilliant. And then through my connections in Spain from having spent time there, particularly in Galicia, we had a little circuit worked out over there, and we were just lucky. We were lucky. We were on the road all the time, and because it's very difficult to make money in Ireland as a 5-piece band, but you have to kind of take it abroad. But we were very lucky, and we made an album, and we got really good critical acclaim for the album. And to this day, we're all very, very proud of that album. We got the best of the best involved in it, recorded it up in Grouse Lodge, and got Derek Murray from the Stunning to produce it, and we got Trevor Hutchinson from Lunasa to mix it, and got guest people like Steve Wickham from the Waterboys threw his magic across some of the tracks, and it still stands on its own. This album, 10 years.
Yeah, it's a great album. I mean, and how did it move on then to Falcha? What happened there?
It kind of like Fling ran its natural course, and
yeah.
It became like a couple of lads that had babies and things like that, and to be going off on 3 or 4 week tours abroad, it wasn't conducive to family life. It's never, being in a band is just not conducive to family life. No, it clashes. Yeah, it just the band ran its natural course because of these sort of just life clashes, I suppose. We all remain great friends, but it just ran its course. And then I don't know, Falcha happened in a different kind of way altogether, in that myself and this friend of mine, Ger Chambers, who's just one of the best box players in the world, as far as I'm concerned, we kept talking about having a jam together. And he called down one day down to my house, and we sat and we played all day, just trying to, we'd never played together before properly. He'd come to see Fling play and things like that, but we just tried to work out how much common ground we had, and we absolutely gelled. Like, it's the best way to describe it. We gelled like big time, and then we got in another couple of guys, Kieran de Burga and Liam Conway, who was with Fling, and we had a very, very different vibe from Fling. Fling was, kind of quite a rock vibe to it, I suppose, with bass and drums and all that sort of stuff. But Culture was almost like a quartet, It was very intricate and very very considered. Every move was really considered and slow, and it was just a completely different vibe. And so we,
Yes, yeah, it was more symphonic or composed.
I mean, like, I'm not saying that there was any less work in the Fling composition, because it was a huge amount of work. But this because I think it was 4 very acoustic instruments, we really had to really think about it. And anyway, we got an opportunity to, again, working for the Department of Foreign Affairs. We went off to Malawi with that and toured Malawi and did a kind of a mix of corporate stuff, and then also went into prisons and orphanages and schools and all sorts of places like that all over Malawi, doing outreach work, and it was really amazing. And then we went off to Vietnam for Department of Foreign Affairs stuff, and China again, and yeah.
A great adventure.
Yeah, I was really
adventure.
lucky, Simon, for years. I got to travel the world and got paid for it, you know what I mean? It was brilliant. Playing music,
There's no better playing music and getting paid for it. That's the best, no?
Oh, absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. And then, like you mentioned there, the outreach work. So let's move on. Let's say some of your refugee work and some of the voluntary work you've done. How did that come about? Was it through the music, or did you have some experiences that made you want to jump into that area and help people out?
I mean, I've always had an interest in outreach work and community work. Just I think it's just by nature of my own life. I've engaged with people from many cultures, but I think the Malawi experience really made me realize how transformative music can be in very, very desperate situations. In that, like, we ended up in a juvenile prison in Malawi, and I cannot tell you how horrific a juvenile prison in Malawi is. And we spent the day in there playing music with these very, very sick and destitute children, but by the end of it, we had them all smiling. And it was a real light bulb moment for me, going, they need this as much as they need food. They need this, So anyway, roll on to 2015, and the sort of start of the massive refugee crisis in Greece, and there was tens of thousands of people fleeing Syria and Afghanistan and other parts of the Middle East and crossing the Aegean to islands of Greece like Chios and Lesbos. And it was really, really, really bad, and I'm sure everybody will recall that absolutely awful picture.
It was a hard time, wasn't it, for them? Yeah.
And I don't know. I just got very, very, very moved by it all. I had time on my hands, and I went, you know what? And I knew they were absolutely desperate for volunteers to go out there and help. On the islands, they were swamped. So I made a few inquiries, and then found out, yeah, this is how you do it. And then I was down in my local cafe in Kinvara having a coffee with my friend Pete Brazier, and I said, Pete, I think I'm about to do something a bit mad. And he said, what's that? And I said, I'm going to go over to Lesbos and volunteer. And without hesitation, he just said, I'm coming with you. And I went, all right, fair enough. And then I mentioned it to Liam Conway, who's been a constant thread in my life between Fling and Vulture. I mentioned to him, and he says, I'm coming too. And then, anyway, we got a motley collection of us together. And we had this sort of little la world idea that we were going to go over and go into the camps and play music and do outreach stuff, because that's what we were good at. And so anyway, we got over there, and at this point there was up to 11,000 people a day landing on an island that's about 4 times the size of Inishmore. And
so in reality, there wasn't much room for music. There was so many other things to do.
we arrived and they went, in your dreams he is doing that. Get get into a car and you're going on land sea rescue. And luckily we had all done courses in first aid and emergency logistics before we left, because just in case. So so we but basically we're spending our nights and days patrolling the coast and looking out with binoculars for boats that were coming over, tens of them at the time, and helping people out of the boats into the water. And it was winter and they were hypothermic. There was people coming with, like, literally had left a war zone with war injuries and were extremely wounded by the time they got to us. And you were doing a kind of a triage thing and just trying to get them a bit warm and get a bit dry and get them. They were so cold you'd have to take their shoes and socks off them that were soaking because they were too cold to do it themselves, and you'd put dry socks on them, and you'd get them transported to the next space where they'd be processed and move along up through Europe,
Did they have, on the beach itself, did they have tents, rescue tents on the beach?
No. Should they be landing up everywhere, Simon? Do you know what I mean? Like, basically the smugglers would go eeny, meeny, miny, mo with the men on the boat and the Turkish side and go, you're driving. And they would, lots of these people had never even seen the sea before. Never mind operate a boat.
Okay.
And they'd be given rudimentary lesson in how to use the motor, the tiller, and they'd be sent off and see those lights over there, aim for them. And so, of course, they had no idea how to land the boat properly or anything like that, and they'd turn sideways to the waves as they were coming in. They'd all be tipped into the water, and they'd be petrified, and it was horror story stuff. It was absolute horror story stuff. There's no way of putting any kind of gloss on it. It was really hard and really challenging, and at the same time, we were very glad that we were the people standing on the beach and giving these people a hug and saying welcome to Europe, because we were genuinely feeling that we wanted Europe to welcome them,
And after that, then you set up your like, it was an NGO or a new organization, Road to Hope. That was as a direct consequence of that, was it?
Yeah, it all grew from that. Like, so we did several tours over to Lesbos, and then we moved down and set up base on Chios, which was another island that was getting bombarded. And our roles changed somewhat, that we were able to bring the music into it, and we were, because they had established camps on these islands at these points, so that we were going and doing distributions of food or milk or cakes or whatever to the kids, and we'd play music and we'd get everybody dancing and singing and just lift spirits a bit there, And now, to be straight with you, after about 6 times going over, my head couldn't take any more of it. There was a few sort of awful things that were witnessed, and you can only take so much of it,
I can imagine, you could have PTSD after events like that, no?
Yeah, 100%, like 100%. And but basically, I didn't stop. I just changed tack. We had an amazing group of people at this point, and all credit to Frank Hall and Eileen Fleming, because they've kept the torch burning, and they went over and they set up a language centre on Chios, and it's like a real centre of respite from the awful camps there, and people can go and just have a shower and have an English lesson, or if they want to just sit and chill and read a book, they can do it, and that's all funded by Road to Hope now, And but we're also always been about emergency response. So I don't know if you know, but recently on Lesbos, the biggest camp there, Moria, burnt down.
There was a lot of activity there lately, wasn't there, on Lesbos?
There's a camp there that's designed for about 2,500 people that had 13,000 people on it, and it burnt down. And
it burnt down.
Yeah, and it was like, these people were just destitute then, they were sleeping under, like if you go into a supermarket and where the shopping trolleys are, it's got covered over, people were sleeping under them and everything. Anyway, mean, the whole point of Road to Hope has always been able to be flexible and respond really quickly. So we had funds that we were able to throw money really rapidly into some of the grassroots organisations over there, so they could get on with food distribution and getting sleeping bags and getting tents for people and things like that. And then we ran a crowdfunding thing and we're very proud now, we managed to raise $4,000 there in a few weeks, and we've sent that over. That's gone over to look after some of the organisations there as well. So, even when we're not there in person, we've kept in touch with all the grassroots organisations who we know, because we know them personally, are doing the stuff, and it's not getting funneled off by middle management or things.
No, and that can be the biggest problem, like this administration costs, and the money goes in other directions, but not to where it should go.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. Yeah,
that's brilliant, and we'll put a link to the NGO. It is an NGO, isn't it, or is it? Would you call it an NGO, or would you call it just an organisation?
Now, I see Frank is now looking after all that kind of thing, and he's awesome. And I think we are now an NGO. We were very ad hoc for ages. It was just a group of musicians going, "What can we do?" You know what I mean? Just a motley group.
No, but you've made a difference,
Yeah, no, we have made a really big difference, and no, we are. I think what is known as a charitable organisation, if I can. Exactly, that's what we.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant. And it's great because these grassroots charities. I was speaking to Colin Farrell from Stamp Out Suicide there last week, and the thing is, with these kind of grassroots charities, they really do as much as some of the big charities, because it's they're connecting with the people, and as you say, there's not too much administration, not too much hierarchy, and what happens is the money and the feeling with it goes much further.
It does, and it can be very targeted, like really, really targeted with it. Like for example, like one of the organisations that we sent money to in the immediate aftermath of that fire was a group of Congolese musicians who are living on the camp, and they had been sort of just as kind of outreach stuff themselves and keeping themselves sane, and been doing music and dance workshops, and but they've been making videos of COVID awareness videos and things like that, and they're a great bunch of lads. But there's about 40 of them and their families, but they immediately changed tack after the fire and started making sandwiches for everybody, you know what I mean? And just so we sent them.
That's really great. And I mean, you have to admire the work you've done and the work you're doing there. It's really good. So Maeve, I'm going to let you go soon. So just, last question or two for you. What are your ambitions for the future, and what more would you like to do that you haven't already done? Because you've done so much, you've had a very varied and adventurous life, but you've had your fun, but you've also had very serious moments, but you've done a lot of good for people in the world. So what's next for you? What would you like to do next, that besides the business and everything? What would you like to do kind of that you feel could make a difference?
Well, I don't know about what I could make a difference, but I know there's one ambition, Simon, and it's when I was traveling around Asia, I kept seeing these people sitting in beachside cafes with laptops in front of them going, what are they doing? What are they doing? And asking them what were they doing, they were going, I'm just running my business from my laptop while sitting at a beautiful beach in Southeast Asia. And I want a piece of that. So someday I want to be one of those digital nomads that can sit anywhere I want in the world, because I'm an eternal traveller. I just love to travel. I love to see other cultures. And so that's on a personal level. That's what I'd like to do.
Well, that's great. That's great.
And I don't know, everything else seems to just happen quite spontaneously with me. So if I made plans, I wouldn't. But I want to grow the business. I'm very happy with my business, and
Well, I think you're one of these people who gets inspired.
Oh yeah, I'm a bit like a pinball in a pinball machine, Simon. Like it takes very little to send me off in a different direction,
But that's good, because that spontaneity and that inspiration and that kind of, that nomadic spirit you have, it not only does it help you be happy, but it does a lot of good for other people. So I think it's really good, and you have to admire you for that and your hard work. And now it's great that the hard work you've always had in your system is now kind of helping you start your own business and make it effective and make it kind of work for you. So I think that's great, and a fair play to you.
Nice one. Thank you, Simon.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So listen, Maeve, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I know you're a very busy woman, so I don't want to keep you for much longer. But thanks very much. And we will put all relevant links to your Whiskey Stone company and to the Road to Hope charity as well, and your music. We will put all this when we broadcast this. And, once again, thanks very much. And it's been a pleasure having you.
Brilliant. And thank you. It's been great chatting to you.
You're great, Maeve. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Bye.
Nice one, Simon.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. That was Maeve Kelly all the way from Kinvara, and she had some interesting stories and adventures to tell us, and I hope you all enjoyed it very much. Next week's guest will be Mr. Dave Proctor. Dave is a New Zealand native who's been living in Ireland for a long time, and he's a musician here. He plays bass and guitar and plays with a lot of bands around County Galway. I've played in one or two bands with Dave myself, actually, and a great guy, and he has an interesting story to tell us, so we'll be looking forward to that, and I hope you tune in. Here, we're going to play you out with some of Maeve Kelly's music from Fáilte. We hope you enjoy it. Take care, guys, and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Gone free, gone down. Torn and near you, was one. Gur hele come, no naledum. Oh, I schgebun, nevroige. Ian stad van nie nach roi machri is gerach shin rings en vrona is leis le fall nie langer bra. Oh, you the heat agus hata, oh, aish gabun is gach nís ngahir davios I the vonach the nasa gach non chan baya is kjol bin no mahel wata ayol the waka is kosti harin gach nach harin